Hi, I'm Matt from specialist ukulele store World of Ukes and editor of UK Magazine, here with my top 10 ukuleles for 2022. In this video I'll explain a bit more about me and how I've made my choices, and then talk about each of my selections followed by a sound demo. If you're watching on YouTube and don't want to hear me talking about them, you can use the chapters below to skip straight to the sound samples back to back, which are at the end with no talking. Top 10 videos aren't a new thing, so I'm not claiming to be doing anything particularly original here, but one thing that is different to many of the top 10s you'll find out there is that there are no Amazon affiliate links. I've seen many videos where robotic voices tell you that their latest Amazon only brand is the best ukulele. There'll be none of that here. It's all things that I really like. I've been running my World of Ukes store, a specialist shop dealing only in ukuleles, for the last 6 years or so, and was selling them for 6 years before that. So I've seen a lot of ukes. That alone is good news for this video, as when it comes to trying different ukuleles, there's probably very few people in the world who's tried as many as I have. I'm also the editor of UK Magazine, which is produced here in the UK and is available worldwide. And that has given me a great insight into ukulele materials, brands and trends over the 7 years that it's been published. Another thing to note is that I've not put in any of the same ukes listed in my 2021 version of this video into this one. Those ukes are still good, of course, and you can go back and watch that video after this one if you like. And just because it's not in my top 10 doesn't mean it's not a great instrument. I only stock what I like, and if I don't like it, I don't stock it. So I think everything I've got here is good. It's just these are my particular favourites for 2022. And finally, the word best in my video doesn't necessarily mean the best quality or the best sound. Otherwise, most, if not all, of the choices I've made would be from the really high-end, expensive ukes that I carry. But what interests and motivates me most about being a ukulele retailer is value for money. I get much more excited about a fairly modestly priced ukulele that sounds far better than it should than I do about a mid-range ukulele that's technically better but sounds about where it should be for the price. Anyway, let's get to the top 10. I'll discuss each choice and then give you a sound sample. And remember, if you just want to hear them without any interruptions from me, the sound samples are repeated back to back at the end with no interruptions. At number 10 we've got the Ohana BKT70G, which is a bit of an oddity with a tenor scale, and it's matched with this larger baritone body. These have got a solid spruce top and a gloss finish and laminate mahogany back and sides. When I first tried these, I did like them, and it's always nice in a ukulele store to have something a little different. And I did think you got a bit more warmth and bass response from the larger body, but I never really got it at first. I didn't really understand what it was for. And it was only when a customer ordered one with a low G that I thought it really came into its own. And the richness that you get from one of these Ohanas was maximised. So yes, it's a bit of a quirky choice, and it won't be everyone's cup of tea. But with the caveat that it's with a low G fitted, it makes my list at number 10. Let's hear a sound sample. The next on the list is the Uma Moon SC concert ukulele. On my 2021 top 10, I didn't have a single Uma because at that point I hadn't even heard of them. And to be honest, yet another brand with ukes between, say, £100 to £400 wasn't really what I was looking for, as it's a crowded part of the market. But in the UK, these umas are imported by my friend Mark at Stones Music, who also brings in a lot of great brands like Kiwaya, Magic Fluke and Risa, and excellent value instruments like Kai and Baton Rouge. And so he's got a good eye for quality, so I decided to give them a go, and I was immediately impressed. The Moon SC has a solid mahogany top and comes with a really nice gig bag, both which are impressive given the price. And Uma have their own relatively thin gauge, actually they're thin gauge, fluorocarbon strings, which give them quite a lot of projection and sustain and a nice chiming quality. But what's hardest to show you on a video is the playability. Different ukes have different tolerances for how low you can get the action, the height above the strings, and with these you can get the action really low, especially at the nut, where most people play most of their chords. So that's a really strong point for this brand, so I'll play this one next. I'm moving on now to a Millar ukulele, one of my absolute favourite brands. They're made by a small family company in Taiwan, and they always represent great quality, great value, and they're lovely to deal with as well. This is their large body tenor ukulele, the JA260GB. It's a real stunner. It's got a flawless gloss finish, this stylish slotted headstock, and really stunning acacia. Nice purple heart binding as well. Very attractive indeed. With the jumbo body you get a little bit more in the bass end of the spectrum, and while acacia is quite a hard wood and it isn't therefore the loudest tone wood out there, generally with this bigger top and the bigger body you do get decent volume too. So I'd never suggest buying a ukulele just because it's pretty, but the Millar JA260GB is so nice looking, it doesn't hurt to be beautiful as long as it sounds good too. So we'll check out a sound sample of this Taiwanese made uke next. On to number 7 then, and the Uluru Ohana Baritone ukulele. I got some comments on my 2021 video along the lines of how can this be a top 10 with no baritone ukuleles featured? And I explained that I had a couple of problems, the fact that it was really hard to get hold of any baritones at all during the pandemic, and also that while manufacturers were producing a lot of interesting and innovative sopranos, concerts and tenors, that innovation wasn't really coming through with baritone ukes. This meant that I didn't have a lot of stock at the time to feature at all, and what I did have perhaps wasn't as exciting as I hoped it would be. The supply problems at the time led me to partner with Southern Ukulele Store to design a baritone that we had made for us by Uluru in Vietnam. We wanted something that was a bit nicer than the serviceable but run-of-the-mill entry-level instruments, without reaching the heights of the Hawaiian made ukes in terms of price. So we produced two different specification Ohana models, This one is the solid acacia model with a gloss finish, and it's fitted with D'Addario titanium strings. So we'll try this one next. Number 6 is another Uma, a tenor this time, and it's the UK-30ST Evo. Like the Millar we've just seen, it's a really attractive all-solid acacia uke, also featuring lots of cosmetic extras. And while those extras do nothing for the sound, the fact that it can look this good, be made from all solid wood and comes in a nice bag is very impressive. The UK-30ST has a wider neck too, with a 38mm nut width. I confess that I prefer 35 or 36 myself, but it's something that people ask for regularly, so I'm glad to have something in that seems to offer such good value to customers with that specific requirement. As I mentioned earlier with the Moon SC, when I'm setting these up, you can get the strings nice and low, particularly at the nut, which makes them really comfortable to play. We'll check out the Uma UK-30ST with a sound sample next. At number 5 is this Baton Rouge 8-string baritone. It's called a VX1/B8-CB. Definitely the most complicated name on the list, but it's such fun to play that I wanted to include it. It's tuned D-G-B-E. You get a high D and a low D, a high G and a low G, and then 2 pairs of B's and E's at the top. So visually it's pretty plain, but it's smart enough, and it's at a price where perhaps you can afford to experiment and enjoy yourself with something that's different to other instruments in your collection. Carla also do an 8-string baritone, which is certainly better, but it's twice the price, and it's not twice as good if you ask me. I'm not a baritone player in general, but every time I pass one of these I want to pick it up and play, which has to be a good sign. So let's have a listen to this one next. I'm back with Millar now with a tenor called the Taroko. This one is named after a national park in Taiwan near to where this was made, and while all the other Millar ukes have model numbers and codes, this one has a name as I named it, and I find names a lot more memorable than codes. So I've always been a fan of cedar as a tone wood. I think it's bright and clear, but it's not as immediate in the attack as spruce. It just seems a nice balance. So the solid cedar top here is paired with solid mahogany on the back and sides under the gloss finish. Whenever I've worked with a manufacturer in the past to produce a ukulele to my own specification, I've had me in mind as the end user, choosing everything that I'd like to see in a uke myself, and that's the case with the materials and the look, but not the neck. So I've said already I prefer 35 or 36 millimeters, but this one is made wider. It's 38 millimeters. It's still lovely to play for me, but it gives people, importantly as a ukulele retailer, it gives people who are interested in the Millar brand but they've got larger hands or a strong preference for that size, something to consider. So we'll hear the Millar Taroko next. Moving on now to number 3 in the top 10, and I've got the Uluru Lehua 3CX. This is a gloss finish, all solid Hawaiian koa ukulele. Now, I didn't have any of these in stock when I made my video in 2021, but as I've got them now, and as it's the uke I play myself, I thought it should make an appearance. These Vietnamese ukes are incredibly well made and finished, and I've played mine for over 6 years and it still looks just as good as new, apart from a few scratches where I dropped my keys on it, but the less said about that the better. Comfort edges are fairly common on ukes these days, but the one here is beautifully chamfered and smooth, and it looks fab too with this red Paduke binding. It even has a cutaway comfort edge, so a little soft chamfered edge here. Now it's decadent, if a little bit superfluous. But still, if you ever feel the need to do an hour-long solo up past the 12th fret, at least you can do so without getting a sore hand from the cutaway. Anyway, let's have a listen to the Uluru 3CX now. The next on the list is a slightly unusual choice for me, and goes to show that while you might have your own personal preferences for what you like in a uke, what those preferences are can kind of go out of the window when you find a ukulele that you really love. At number 2, I've got the Kiwaya KPS-1M Soprano uke, and I'm not a soprano player, and this one has a wider 37mm nut width, which is wider than I would normally have, but what I thought I liked kind of goes out of the window when I play one of these Japanese made all solid mahogany sopranos. In my 2021 list I had featured a KPS-1K, which is the Koa equivalent from the same Strummer series from Kiwaya, and I also featured the KPC-1M, which is the concert version of this same ukulele. So in some ways it's a bit boring to feature yet another Kiwaya from the same series, but what can I say, I love everything about it. So we'll hear a clip of this Soprano Kiwaya KPS-1M next. On then to number one, and it's the Millar SP210LL long neck soprano ukulele. Now I would have included this one in the 2021 video, but it's so popular that as soon as they come in they tend to go out again. So I'm actually quite lucky to have one left to make this video, but even this one is spoken for by a customer. So Martin in Germany, I'll do my best not to drop your ukulele during the sound demo. The SP210LL has a soprano body paired with a concert scale. So that's known as a long neck soprano, although perhaps technically small body concert would be more accurate, but never mind, it's a lovely thing. The top is solid spruce and the back and sides are solid acacia, and it's fitted with Worth Brown strings and these De Young geared tuners. Now they look like friction pegs, but they work like gears. They're excellent. These play beautifully, they look great with this rope binding, and they've got so much volume, far more than a small instrument like this really should have. So there's a bit of magic in these Millars. So let's have a quick listen to this one, the number one choice for 2022 for me, the Millar SP210LL. So that was the top 10 ukuleles for 2022. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and if you had a particular one of my choices that you liked, do let me know why in the comments below. Or if you have any suggestions based on your experience of what you think is the best uke you've played, I'd also love to hear from you. Of course, all of the ukes we've looked at today are available on my website, worldofukes.co.uk, where you can also find UKE Magazine, and on my World of Ukes YouTube channel there's over 400 other ukulele videos, so do subscribe to that because I'm always adding new ones. Thanks a lot for watching. Next up is a repeat of all the sound samples I played earlier back to back, but from me it's goodbye.
worldofukes.co.uk. worldofukes.co.uk.